Hey guys, welcome back to Turnkey Projects. Uh, you guys are amazing. You guys have been hitting those likes and watching the videos, and I appreciate it. Keep subscribing, keep liking. We can as we do a lot of these different things. Today we're switching it up a little bit. I'm working on the kitchen project. I'm building a I've got an island structure for the kitchen already set up. I'm building the face frames for it right now. Um, since I've got most of the kitchen stuff done, I figured this would be a good time to kind of insert. This is the first time I've ever done anything major work like this, and a lot of this stuff I learned on YouTube, so I'm hoping I can share some of my wisdom, give you guys a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of courage to take it on yourself. The way I see it, I can always go back and rebuild it, or worst case scenario, I can always go to Lowe's and buy a set of cabinets. But if any of you guys have been pricing a kitchen remodel, you know how expensive it is. And if you can save a few bucks along the way and maybe even learn a few tricks and a few skills, hey, that's the best thing to do. I always never stop learning. You know. So I've already started on getting some of the pieces cut for one of the ends. I realized a little bit too late that I didn't have a memory card in there. So guys, always check the basics first. It doesn't matter what you're working on. Car repairs, house repairs, even filming. So with that, what I'm going to be doing now, I've got to switch my table saw over to a Dado blade. I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch Dado down 2 boards. Then I'm going to break out my router with a Dado bit in it, or rabbiting bit, and go in on the up and down rails. You have your rails and your stiles. Your rails are your bottom and top, and if you have a center bar, your stiles are up and down. So I've already got those 2 made. This one I plan on putting doors on. So we're going to do a little bit, it's going to seem a little bit weird at first, but when we start getting it together, you'll understand. I'm doing this in a shaker style, so it's going to have a recess in the back where a panel goes in, and when you look from the front, it looks like that panel's set back about 1/4 inch. So follow along. I'm going to turn the camera around, and we're going to get started on changing out the Dado blades and getting those first couple pieces trimmed up, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks guys. All right, guys. In one little, when you start doing this, you accumulate little tools, and this is one thing I really highly recommend is getting you one of these little setup blocks. My wife got me these for Christmas, and God, they've been worth their weight in gold. Goes all the way from 1/2 inch thick down to an 1/8 inch thick. I don't know if the camera's getting this. There we go. I'll try to put a link down for some of these. They're fairly inexpensive, and they're worth every dime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it for 1/2 inch. I know I said 1/4 inch earlier, but I meant 1/2 inch. So I'm using 3/4 inch oak, and I'm going in with a 1/2 inch plywood, and that'll leave me a 1/4 inch reveal. So what you'll do, set that block right there, and you're going to raise or lower your blade and rotate it back and forth until it's all on 1/2 inch. And right there is where I want it. And try not to knock them across your saw. Alright, get yourself a piece of scrap wood that you can mount right up here, because you'll want to back it in just a little bit so you can get a clean edge. I've got these clamping pliers. Craig makes a good set as well. They're really handy for everything. These aren't the self-adjusting ones. These are manual adjusting, which sometimes works a little bit better. As I've seen some of the self-adjusting ones, they tend not to tighten enough sometimes, or they stick a little bit. So I've actually got both types, and I do like them both. So, but what you'll do is clamp that down high enough where your wood's going to fit over top, but firm enough to hold on top. Now we're going to do it right. And I'm just going to run this, so it's going to get a little noisy. Alright, next you're just going to find out what side of wood that you want to use. You know, see if one side looks better. And I'm going to be rabbiting out the back side of it, so just keep that in mind. On one of these, I'm going to do a rabbit on this side. The other one I'm going to do one on this side, because I'm going to have a divider, and then the door is going to be up underneath. So I want the side that's rabbited toward the top for the center rail, the bottom on the top rail. You'll understand as we get closer. So I'm looking at it, and this has got some scuffing on it, so I'm going to go ahead and use this as the back side. And then I'm going to look at these edges and see what looks better as far as what I'm going to be seeing. I'm going to sand that out, so I'll go ahead and use this side, as this will be the middle rail. Alright guys, before I even get started on that, you really need to go ahead, get some gloves in. You know, I always think safety first, you know, even if it's not major, you know. They're not cut-proof gloves or anything, but they help with splinters, which can be a real pain. These right here, they're more than just sunglasses. They are actually safety glasses. And one way to tell on them is if you look on the inside, they should have, or somewhere on here, should have a numbering stating. I'll have to look that up, so I'll edit that out in a little bit. But they are rated sunglasses. They're actually made by DeWalt. So They look good, and they actually do a really good job. They're the UV protectant. So, you know, you see I have this expensive shop I'm doing all this work in. Which is another thing to show you. You don't need an expensive building and a whole bunch of expensive tools to do a nice job. You know, just take your time, plan out your measurements, you know, a little bit better than I do. I kind of go by the seat of my pants on some of this stuff. So, you know, this really wasn't all planned too well on the island. You know, I saw what I wanted, and I just kind of made something to it. If you have that ability, that's perfect. But you really want to go by some hard measurements. So, enough for that. Let's get back to it. And we're back to noise. Got where my door opening is going to be. I want my measurement from 10.5 from the top of this to the bottom of this. So I'm going to go ahead and make my measurement. I've got it almost dead on. On this one here, it doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to make a mark from my top to the bottom. Come over here and make the same mark. And make a mark for the top as well, because I know I'm going a 1/2 inch in here and here, so I can measure off that. What I want to do is I want to route the back side down to this point plus a little bit, but I still want to have enough for my pocket screws to go in. So measure, we've got 2.5 there, so I'm going to come back to 2 inches. 10.5 here, I'm going to come back to 10 inches. And that'll give me an idea where I need to stop and start and where I can't go past. Oh, no, that's the wrong measurement. I don't know what I'm thinking. Think things through, guys. Alright, that's 8, so I'm going to go back to 7.5. I'm not thinking things through again. By the time I'm get done, I'm going to have 10,000 marks on here, so I need to come down to 8.5, where I need to have my board in. Alright, something over here, I need to come up 2 inches, and I need to come down to 8.5. fact, these boards are actually decent enough where I can use that side as my guide. Clamp here in the corner. Alright guys, now that I've got my other pair of clamps, this is the self-adjusting ones I was talking about. Basically you just clamp it right on. If you need a little bit extra grip, you can adjust it or loosen it right here. Like I said, I've got a 3/4 inch router bit here with a roller on it, so it's only going to let it go in so far. I could put this in my table, but right now I'm having issues with the mount on it, so right now it's all by hand. I've done this on some other ones, so that one's already preset. You could use the little brass blocks to set that, or a tape measure, or just worst case scenario, take a scrap piece of metal material, the same thickness, do a couple test passes, see how it reacts to the grains, and go from there. I do know this oak is a little bit sensitive as far as which way you go with the grain, so just like I said, just think safety at all times, and don't be afraid to try something new. I'm going to take this, I'm going to see, here's my bottom mark, and where I've got this curve right here, that board, the piece of plywood that's going to go in here for the filler is going to fit okay. Come over here, and that fits almost perfectly. So I'll be able to use my pocket hole jig to get these set up just right. Let me get the other one chucked in and we'll go from there. perfect. Okay. Make sure we have the right sides. Set those to the side. I'll bring in my bottom piece. So we're going to have one here, and then this is the bottom, then we'll have the rails here. Right. Alright, we've got our Craig tool, not sponsored, but they have one of the best tool sets in the industry. Trying to figure out how to do this real quick. I haven't used it this option yet. These are supposed to go in here somehow. Well, they're not necessarily important. There's a way to stabilize it where one goes here and one goes here for extra support for wider pieces. We're not going to be using those right now. I just thought I'd bring them out to show you. But what we're going to do flip this over. Alright, what we've got, this set here comes with a bit, a little collar. You can actually, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's got some different settings on here for different thickness woods. We're doing 3/4, so I'm going to set this little window on the 3/4 and tighten it down with a little tool they supply. And what we're going to do, we got 3 little holes right here. And we've got a little gauge right here. All you got to do, make sure that's even. Center the board where you want it. And I'm just going to use the 2 outside screws. And that gives you 2 little pocket screws right there. You're going to run your screw in here, the head's going to be hidden down in, and that screw is going to come out at an angle where it's not going to push through the front side of the wood, as long as you use the right size screws. do a bigger panel so I can assemble all this. I'm going to go ahead and kick it down. The edges that are going to be on the inside are going to be harder to get to with the sander when I'm done. I'm just going to knock those down with a fine sandpaper. Step. I just want to get some of the edges softened up a little bit because it's going to be a little bit harder to get in there with the sander when it's all together, you know, in the corners. So that just gives me a little bit easier. I'll sand the face frame when I'm done. Let's get some glue. Top. Do this upside down. You can take the gloves off by now. Set these even. And what I'm going to do, hold this up against it. Clamp that down. That way they're both up against that wood and it's going to come out flush. These are specifically made for pocket screws. You'll have some that'll have the little head like this, and some that are just almost like a cut-off dowel. So either one will work just fine. I like the round, flat rounds. I like the dowel type for 1/2-inch plywood. did everything right, you should be able to take your speed square or regular square, go in there, and it's perfectly square. Just the way I want it. I got these a little close, so you may want to, when you do yours, do them a little bit closer if you do something like this. Learn from other people's mistakes, folks. Wood's expensive. Some reason I might have a little bit of warp. This might be just slightly warped in here, or it may just slip a little bit when we're cutting. Now if I measured this right, that should be 10.5 inches from here to here. Where'd I put my tape measure? Just a little over, but it'll still work. Move that up. Actually, I need to turn this. So alright, we're going to glue it. Guys, glue will clean up. Just as long as you get, if you're going to be staining, you want to get it all the way gone because stain won't soak into the glue. Alright, I want to check the square since this is going to be for doors. Okay. I've got maybe a 30 seconds worth off. The gap on the doors will take up for that. If you did it right, let me pan this up a little bit. I don't think I'm... Bring it back a little bit. and that's going to be your facing. I'll go back in, I'll fill a little bit of putty up in here. Any kind of little gaps that you have, you can fill with putty, sand it down. The putty will usually accept the stain. Any stickers, just make sure they're off or sand them off like I do. We'll go ahead and move to cutting this panel here. Show you how to do that real quick. We're going to go from the inside to the inside. That is 6.5. Make sure we got the same here. 6.5 by 32 7/8. So 6 1/2 by, what did we say, 32 7/8. Alright. We're going to come back over here to the table saw. I'm going to set up for the regular blade, and I'll be back. Alright guys, one thing about safety is if you guys are actually buying some of this stuff new, and you're new to woodworking, I picked this up a few years ago. It's a little Metabo job site saw. The thing has served me really well. I'm still on the original blade. Just like everything, there's going to be some good and bad reviews, and I'm actually really happy with this thing. A couple features that I really liked was with the fence. It actually, instead of on most saws you have to measure from the blade in here back and forth, because the fence will kind of do this. This one here is actually on tracks, and it keeps it even all the way across. Another thing is it actually has a rider right here. It has a hold down right here, which even if you've done woodwork, if you've ever had kickback, like I've had, which led me to look for this feature, you actually have, I really don't know what the technical terms for these are, but they're a little serrated edge that is spring loaded, and as the wood comes up, that'll actually come down on it, and if that blade kicks back, those little grooves will grab into the wood and keep it from coming back at you. And one reason for the kickback is a lot of times the wood, as it goes through, tends to come back in on itself as you're pushing in, and the resistance on it just squeezes it in, and that blade gets pinched and wants to naturally kick back. This right here is called a riving knife, and that was one of the main features I was looking for, along with that articulating fence. So that's just a couple things that, I really wasn't. I heard when I was watching videos to learn how to do some of this stuff, I heard these guys talking about riving knives and safety features and all that, some of the different items, and I wasn't sure what they were. This will kind of give you an insight. Like I said, I love this little saw. Like I said, it gets kicked around, the thing still holds up. The table's plastic. The only thing I've had a problem with is these little metal tabs right here. In fact, that one's missing. It's come off. They'd hang up on the wood a little bit and cause a few issues, but otherwise this thing has meted or exceeded my expectations. I picked it up at one of the big box home improvement centers. I'm not going to mention any names. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by anyone, so all these reviews are honest and right from my pocket. Like I said, I've paid for all this stuff. I love them to death. Like I said, this thing is kicking around. I actually had an old Craftsman before that I picked up off of Craigslist years and years back, and I had a piece of 1/4 inch plywood kick back on me, and it left a bruise about the size of a softball. So, safety is a big thing, guys. You don't want to lose fingers. You don't want to have a board come back and severely hurt you. So let's go ahead and get this other piece cut. I'm going to cut it widthwise first and then height-wise, and we'll fit it to the face panel and see what we got. I'm going to cut it just a little bit smaller than the opening because the edges are a little bit rounded. It might not fit right, and I want to give the room a little bit of area to move since we have about a 1/2 inch all the way around. We've got plenty of coverage, so let's get to it. Alright guys, sorry about that. Battery went dead on me. We were going 6.5 inches on this side of the blade. Now if we were cutting from this side, we're going to measure from the other one. So that's 6.5. See how I'm looking. Once again, we're going to look for the better side of it, which will probably be this side. And let me make sure you guys can see here. We're going to fit this down in. Well, what the hell? Did I just cut the wrong side off? I cut the wrong side off. Pay attention to what you're doing, guys. I just ruined a piece of 1/2 inch plywood. This side though, it's going to be alright. It's not going to be seen. It's going to be facing the refrigerator, so I can live with the mix-up. Looks like we need to take just a little edge off of it. And I can probably chamfer this corner. So yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah, I cut the wrong end. So let's go back to 32.5, or 32 7/8. Guys, don't let mistakes like that set you back. Believe you me, I've made enough of them. A little long. I should be pressing this corner. Alright, I'm going to go to the chop saw from here. I'm going to cut a little bit off of this edge. Trim. I'm going to trim some of this down here. Take another blade width off of here. right here, we just need to take just a little bit off that edge. And you'll wind up with something that looks like that. Now I'm going to do the same pocket hole configuration as we did with these. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple here, probably about 4 across the bottom and top, and then 2 over here. I'm not going to put it in yet because I want to sand this separate, stain it separate, and urethane it separate. And then put the last coat of urethane on with this inset so all the little nooks and crannies get filled in. And we'll get that going. We're going to do some sanding first. Something every woodworker loves to do. Basically, I start off, I'm going to do a quick hit with 80 just to knock it level. Then I'm going to go to 120, then 220, then 320. That made everything a little nice and smooth. Alright. I'm going to put in a little bit of putty. Put in some putty where these are and any little imperfections that I might come across. I'm just going to blob it in because I can sand it out. It doesn't take long to dry. A lot of times with stuff this thick, not only does it dry quick, but sometimes you can use a sander to do a quick dry on it. Now it's a little bit darker because I am going to go back in with a dark stain. And this will show up, but in my case, I'm not worried about it because the look we're going for is as if a farmer had built a kitchen and he was using kind of what he had, and try to make it nice. So little imperfections, to me only warm up the design. It shows a little bit of character, not the stuff like you get nowadays that you can tell a machine made it. So we'll put you on speed. We'll get this in and do some more sanding. Alright, now that I've found my sandpaper, I can never seem to put things away right where it's supposed to. Phones, car keys, sandpaper, tools. Comment below if you do the same thing and what you've done to remedy it and get yourself in the habit. Alright, 220. Always unplug. Or lock it out where it doesn't move. Alright guys, I'm losing light fairly quick. and keep from boring you even more with sanding, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this here. I'm gonna go ahead. Here's what the other panel I have already finished. It's already been stained. It's already been polyurethaned. It's ready to go on once I get the other panels ready to go. Here's what it looks like. And guys, just remember, when you're sanding all this, the end finish is going to be what you put into it. So the finer you do, the better it's going to be. Take your time. Mine, I actually like a little bit of rough look to it, so my sanding may not go down as deep as what yours needs to. It also depends on the type of wood you're using, if it's soft or if it's hard. The red oak I'm using is fairly hard, so it takes a little bit more to get into. I kind of like a few little rough edges. I have a few little wormholes that I'm not going to patch up. I'm going to go ahead and stain and clear over top of it. That just gives it a little bit more character, at least in my opinion. So take your time, get it nice and smooth if you're going for a beautiful finish. If you're going for a little bit rougher, you know, I've got some deep grains in some of this wood here, so I actually don't mind a little bit of a texture, because the polyurethane will fill in some of the rougher edges. You still have a little bit of that green feel to it. So take your time and get it exactly where you want it. If you have any doubts on what to do, get some scrap pieces first of maybe even the same type of wood of some of the stuff that you cut. Try test panels. See how long you need to leave the stain on, how deep you need to sand, how much you need to sand. If you need to go over with finer, when you do the rough cut, you'll see if you're using an orbital or a random action like I'm using, it's going to leave little tiny swirl marks in it. Are you going down deep enough with the finer sandpapers to get rid of those? It's all going to show in your stain. Once you get that stain on there, it's almost too late. So test panels first, then go with, you know, what you need to, adjust how you need to. So tip for the day. Thanks. Guys, I want to thank you for coming in again. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job, that you like what you see. They'll recommend it to other people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. It goes a long way to helping me out as far as what we can do in the future. Get some more projects on. I'm looking at auctions. I'm looking at more different varied things. I'm looking at some Tonka toys coming up. I'm getting parts together as we speak for them. So we've got some stuff coming up. Stay tuned. Thanks again. Have a good evening. Hopefully I've given you something that you can go and practice with. You know, like I said, I'm here to help you guys get the confidence to actually get out and do these things yourself. You know, I know it's kind of a coined phrase nowadays that American craftsman is gone. You know, it's only gone if we let it. So go ahead, get out and build something. Enjoy it. Thanks again, guys. God bless.
Hey guys, once again I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you like seeing some woodwork on the channel. The wife's got a few other projects she wants me to do. Also, you know, if you're out and about and want to see some other videos for woodworking and do-it-yourself projects, go check out my buddy Bradley Coe on DIY Wouldn't You. I'll put a link either down here or up here. I guess it depends on what device you're watching on, where it's located at. Like I said, I'll post a link over to his pages. Check him out. You know, he does some really good stuff. You know, he's in it full time now. So drop a comment. Let me know if you drop a comment. Let me know if you want to see more woodworking on the channel. If not, you know, we'll figure out what else we can do. Thanks again, guys. God bless. Talk to you soon.